So this KPI is going to answer a question that many HVAC companies aren't really measuring. Do we actually train less as technicians get better, or do we just shift the burden around? And so here in the next few minutes and in this video, I want to show you, what the data is showing, and you can see how training hours behave across tenure and what that means for, your planning. And so here I want to create a simple heat map. I have high as red, but I'll show you how to do it to where you can have low, green is higher. Also, I'm going to show you how to create, if you want this data set, there's a link to download it. If you can't find it, shoot me an email. And then we have everything we need. We just need to write one formula, and that's going to be here where we get the month. And I want to show you how to do that. But first, what you're going to want is you're going to want your data inside of a table, which is what this is. So go into your data, or if you have this file that it's already in a table, but if you ever wanted to create a table just inside your data, just press Ctrl+T. I can't do it here, beat him up. And then you can, my table has headers, and then you have the same thing. We don't need that here, but yeah. So the first thing is we want to create the word of the month based off of the date. And so equals text, go to the training date, comma, your quotations, and then 4 M's. And then the benefit of a table, as you can see, is it autofills sort of all the way down. Okay, so now we want to calculate, how many training hours, and then what you do is equals unique, because we want a unique list of this. We don't want Brian Collins twice. We want a unique list. And so go into the table and highlight the column name, not the whole column, not like this. And it's gonna give me an error message whenever I try. So now we have the technician name. I'm gonna highlight this, remove the values, press Ctrl+C, and then Ctrl+Shift+V to remove the values. And now we want the month. So just type in the word January and then drag it across to December. And then I'm going to sort of center everything. Okay, so how do we figure out, how many training hours there are per month? We want the sum of the training hour column if the month is January and the technician name is, Frank Wynn in this scenario. And so equals SUMIFS. So the first argument is, what are you trying to sum? What's the numerical value that you're trying to sum? And it's right here, training hours. Again, don't highlight the column, highlight the table. And you'll see it'll be named over to C3, but it should be B3. So we don't want that to happen. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to tell Excel, if I'm dragging it over, I want January to change to February, but don't change the technician name. So lock the column where for the red in column, cell B3. So put a $sign before the column to lock the column. As I drag it over, it won't change. As I drag it, up and down, it will change. But for the month, we want to lock the row. So as I drag it over, it will change, but as I drag it up and down, it won't. And so now if I drag it over, it's still an error. And the reason is because the table is changing. The columns are changing, right? We don't want that. And because it's a table, it's a little bit weird, but if you just copy and paste, then everything works. And I'll just remove that. And then if you want, like, say total, you can actually just highlight all this. You can do it with your mouse. I'll show you a quick way. Press Alt equals, and it automatically sums all of that stuff. And then for the heat map, highlight the area that you want to, have a heat map with, and then go to Home, Conditional Formatting, highlight or color scales, and then here. So here green is high, and here red is high. So you can just sort of choose which one you want. I'll do green high, and in the other tab it was red was high. Okay, so we have all that. So this part is done. Now we want to do the technician name. We want to get their role, and then we want to get their tenure, and then we want to get the training hours. And so we already have, what I'll do is I'll just copy this. I'll copy this right here. And we already have the technician name, so just copy, paste. Oh, that didn't work at all. Copy, paste. And then now we have the things like role and the things like tenure in the data set. So what we're going to do is a VLOOKUP. So we have the name here, and then we have the role here. So a VLOOKUP, the first argument is what are you looking up? So we're looking up the name, and then where are you looking it up? So the first column you're going to use is going to be where the technician name is. And then however many columns over is where is the column index number. So it's 2 because column C is the first column. And then comma, and then 0 for an exact match. We don't want an approximate. Or we could just do a simple, SUMIFS. We want the table, and we want training hours, right? So that's what we want to sum, and then we want to sum based off of the technician name, which is Franklin, right? And you can see this number, if I remove that, matches this number here. Double click that down, and now we're good. So now the final thing we want to do is create this chart, right? So what we'll do is we'll highlight the technician name, and then we'll hold, and then recommended charts, and you can see it's the second one here, a scatter. Then click OK. And what I'll do is I'll just copy this name over here, the chart title, and just paste it here, just so I save a couple seconds. And then finally, what we want to do, I mean, you can make these bigger, you can format, you could have the shape effects be different. You can change the color, however you want to do it. But what I will do is I will do a trend line. And you can see it's a little bit downward sloping. And being that it's downward sloping, what that's telling you is that because the x-axis is the tenure and the y-axis is the hours trained, it's per year. It's showing you that as people have longer tenure, they're getting trained less. And so in this example, it's not much less. I mean, I guess there are some, 200 hours versus 250 hours. So there are some, but overall it's not much less. But it answers the question, do we continue training technicians as they, gain experience and have a longer tenure? And the answer is no. Yes, you continue training them, not as much as you did for technicians that have less tenure. But anyways, that's all I got for this one. If you have any questions, shoot me an email, questions@databoards.io. If you want this file, there's a link to download it. If you can't find it, shoot me an email. Just tell me, hey Ryan, can you send me the file for, HVAC service ops, training hours per service tech. And if you need some help structuring your data this way, to be in a workable format, you should have an export that you can sort of massage to look like this if you're tracking training, which you should be. But if you can't figure out how to format it,